Hello and welcome back to Penntorr Cars, Cornish car collectors, where you join me in my Rover 75 as I drive up to work. But that's not what this video is all about. Oh no, today is one of those really exciting days because today is new car day. Yeah, I've bought a new car. Now I buy quite a few cars during the year, some of which I buy and sell on, some I do some restoration work on and sell on, and some I buy to feature on these videos. But today, the car that I've purchased and that we're going to collect is one that could be the next permanent member of the Penntorr Cars Collection, and that's really exciting. Now I say could be because I've bought many cars in the past that were on my car bucket list and I've really enjoyed owning them, but for one reason or another I just didn't connect with the car. They didn't get into my heart like so many of the other permanent members of the collection have done. And I'm really hoping that the car that we've bought today does just that, gets into my heart, we create some memories, we create some content for all of you and really enjoy the car, and it hangs around for a good long time to come. So what have I bought? Well, I've had two of these before. It's a Ford Focus Mark II ST. What's so special then about the ST that I've bought? Bearing in mind I've had two before. Well, the first one that I had was a silver ST2, and it was a really good car and my first taste of that 5-cylinder turbocharged 225 brake horsepower engine. It was brilliant. The next car that I had was a performance blue ST3, and that was really nice. So nice in fact that we featured it here on the channel on a drive to work video. If you haven't seen it, do take a look. And of course, being an ST3, it had those lovely Recaro leather seats. But for me, the ST looks best in the brighter colors. It looked great in the performance blue. It looks really good in that signature electric orange. But there's one color for me for the Ford Focus ST Mark II, and that's Colorado red. That's exactly what we've bought. Now, it's not all about the Colorado red. You see, there's a certain trim level that I've been looking for some time, and I've found it, and that's what we're going to collect. I like the car in its most basic form, the ST1. Don't get me wrong, I love the ST3 leather seats, but for me, those cloth Recaros with those colored panels inserted in the seat, I think look great. And also with the ST1 and sometimes the ST2, there's a very special piece of trim that you can get, and I'll show you that a bit later on in the video when we go and collect the car, because we've got that. So that's really exciting. Now, where did I find the car? Well, of all places, having been looking for some time, I found it in a commercial car auction at Bristol car auctions. So I bid last week, I won the car, I've paid for it, it's mine, I've insured it, and we're on our way up to collect it. We've got an appointment booked 9:30 tomorrow morning, and I'm really, really excited. Let's take a minute and see how I got on at the auction.
This ST, 2 stamps on the book as I'm aiming for. I've got £3,000, an ST in racing red book. £2,000 but away command, £3,000 but 3 but away down, 3 but away down, £3,000 but 3,000 but 1, 31, 31, 32, 32, 32, 33, 33, 33, 34, 34 but away, 34 but away, 34 once, 5, 35, 35, 35, 35 twice, third, 12.30.
Now, with all cars bought from auction, there's a risk. I've never started it, I've never heard it run, I've never even walked around it, I've never seen it with my own eyes outside of a few photographs. So fingers crossed, when we see it tomorrow, it starts and it gets us home. And then we can start to really think about whether or not this is a car to keep within the Penntorr Cars Collection for some time. The car's been a little bit modified. Not sure it's going to be to my taste. The front bumper has had the number plate moved and a new lower grille. I think we'll probably put that back to standard, but don't mind a few mods on these cars. The engines can take it, and it just takes that 225 brake horsepower up a bit and really will improve the performance of the car. But we're going to find out all about that together as we go and get it tomorrow morning. So thanks so much for joining me. Do stay tuned and do click like. Leave us a comment, particularly if you're into your ST Focuses. and subscribe if you haven't, that would be great. So we've got about 20 miles till we get to Exeter, then a day's work, then an hour on the train, then an overnight in Bristol, and then we're picking up my Colorado red Ford Focus ST. So we've just picked the Focus ST up, and unfortunately they've changed the way that they hand cars over there at Bristol auction. Whereas previously they give you your keys and send you off on the hunt for your car, now a member of the auction staff actually start and bring the car out to you. So I've driven it about 500 meters, I suppose, and I'm going to try and find us somewhere to pull in, and we can then take a decent look around the car. But first impressions in these first 500-600 meters, really good. We found a car park. It's nice and empty here at Cribbs Causeway this early in the morning. So we have this car park to ourselves. Let's take a look around my new Ford Focus ST, and remember it's an ST1, not an ST2, not an ST3, an ST1 in that lovely Colorado red. To be honest, I'm already in love with it, and I've only driven it a few miles, but let's take a walk around. So first of all, the front bumper. Now, as you can see, we've got some stone chips there, so that'll need to be sorted out. But to be honest, that's not too much of a concern because the bumper is non-standard. The bottom grill's wrong, the top grill's wrong, the registration plate has been moved over there to the near side of the car, looks to be a sticker. So we need to change that back to standard, and that red badge, as good as it looks, needs to go. Also, this car must have a style pack, got the black lights which look really good, but around the front the car looks great. Here down the side we've got a little dent in the passenger door. I don't know if it'll come out on the camera, we'll try. Yeah, you should be able to see it, so we've got to sort that out. But the good news about this car, all four wheels, really good. These are quite prone to curbing, but look at that, they're all like that, so looking really good, and good tyres on them too. Pirelli's on the front, which is always good to see. Then going down the side of the car, looking really great. Look at it in Colorado red. I mean, it is just the best colour. And then around the back, again, looking really good. That red badge got to be changed, but otherwise looking nice and standard and smart. And when we come in closer, oh, naughty exhaust. We'll hear those in a moment. I haven't started the car yet myself. We'll do that together in a moment. Okay, again, coming around the car, looking really, really good. Now, as I say, this is an ST1. It's the trim level that I wanted. A couple of things that are quite unique to this car. First of all, we go up nice and close, you'll see it has an electric sunroof, very rare. But the big thing about this car, and the reason that I picked this one is, let's have a look inside, the lovely Recaro cloth seats. I do like the leather, I really like it, but I much prefer those. But the big thing about this one, which I believe is quite rare, is the Recaro rear bench. For those of you who have got STs or know a little bit about them, please do let me know below how many cars actually came with the Recaro bench seat as opposed to the flat bench, the 5 seats. That one, this is a 4-seater, this car. But look at that, looks really good and in lovely condition as well. There's a quick shot of the dash too. Again, for an ST1, I'm not sure that that stereo is standard. We might have to source that. And looking at those controls there for the blower and the vents and stuff, again, not sure if they're standard. We'll have to do a bit of research. Being an ST1, no traction control option on this car. Okay, let's start it up. Let's try our first startup of the ST and see how it sounds. Hear the exhaust popping. Now we know the exhaust isn't standard, but I'm not sure that turbo is either, and I'm sure that when we look underneath the bonnet we'll find a lot more that Ford hadn't put there originally. I'd love to show you under the bonnet, but at the moment I don't know how to open it. We've got that aftermarket grille on the front and that red badge, and that doesn't move, so I'm not sure yet how to open the bonnet, but I'll find out and then we'll have a look a little bit later on in the video. So let's take this for a drive. It's raining now, raining pretty hard. So we'll take it for a drive and hopefully we'll get to use a little bit of the power and see what it's like. Rain showers subsided a little bit. They really are coming and going quickly today. But because I've been in and out of the car's steamed up a bit, but not a problem in this Ford Focus because we have heated front and rear screens. So let's put them on. That's about all you get because it is an ST1 after all, but it's also a hot hatch, so it shouldn't have too many fancy gadgets and driver comforts. Now, when you buy a car from auction, you never really know what you're going to get, but we've been fortunate with this one because we've got half a tank of fuel. Now, I don't know when you're watching this, but right now in the UK, there's actually a bit of a fuel crisis going on as people panic buy fuel. So we've been very lucky. We'll be able to get home from Cornwall from Bristol in this car, no problem. Also, buying it from auction, you never really know what you're going to get. For the first time ever, I've bought several cars, hundreds of cars from auction, but we've been really fortunate today because this one comes with a TomTom sat-nav. That's a first. Not sure how old this TomTom sat-nav is, but we'll plug it in maybe later on the way home and see how it goes. Now, we're just about to, if we can get through these lights, take this car up and onto the M5 heading southbound. We're already going down one junction. We're going to stay in Bristol for the next couple of days and take this car home probably on Sunday, which is 2 days from now. The quick clear windscreen worked really well. In fact, we've got all the filaments working too. Good grief, this car keeps on surprising. Clutch is quite aggressive. I imagine it's an aftermarket racing type clutch. And here we go. Stuck behind a van at the moment. But here we go, out onto the motorway. Not too busy now, the rush hour traffic's gone. We'll avoid this lorry. And then let's see how this 5-pot ST225 performs. I don't think we should call it an ST225 because this one definitely is running more than 225 brake horsepower. Okay, put it in 4th gear. Oh my goodness, this is a lively car. God, I tell you, I said on the way up that it takes a bit for a car to really earn its place in the Penntorr Cars Collection, but this one's doing very, very well. I absolutely love it so far. So we took the car out of auction. We drove it up to Cribbs Causeway and now we're taking it back into Clifton. In fact, we'll go over the lovely Clifton suspension bridge in a moment. And this car is driving really, really well. It's always a risk, as I said earlier, buying from auction, but my goodness, this car really, we seem to have, well, been very lucky, the way that I would describe it. Not only the half a tank of fuel, but also things like the temperature gauge has just stayed exactly where it should do on this drive. Car's not dropping oil with all this rain that we have, and these showers really are coming and going very quickly. We would see a bit of kind of rainbow there in the rainwater, so it's not dropping oil. It feels really, really good. I can't fault it at the moment. Now it's early days, so let's see what happens over the course of my ownership. But so far, so good. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why do certain cars end up in car auctions? Now this one, I believe, was a direct part exchange into a main dealer. So whoever had this car before probably traded it in for something newer. The previous owner actually owned this since 2015. So nearly 6 years of ownership, which is always a really good sign. And in fact, I'd love to speak to the original owner. So if you are the original owner and you're watching, or if you know the original owner, please do get in touch. It'd be great to hear about your experience of owning the car and some of the things that you've done to it, some of the modifications. I'm not one really for modified cars. Yeah, the Focus RS that I have is quite heavily modified, but I'm not one for modified cars. But there's something about the Ford Focus that, well, it just really suits some modifications. And with this car, if we change the front bumper, well, no one would ever know that the car has been modified. So nice standard look, but we've got that extra performance, which really is nice. I mean, the boost, I'll show you a little bit later in the video. In these STs, you always get 2 levels of boost up to a certain point, then around 4,000 revs, you get another kind of wave of boost. Well, in this car, it's just that much better, that much more that comes in, but it's not distasteful, it's not undrivable, it's really, really good. I think I've already said it in this video, but I love it. I think this car will be hanging around for a long time to come. And here is the lovely Clifton suspension bridge. And we're home. Well, home for the next couple of nights before we drive this lovely car 125 miles back to Cornwall. I love fast Fords, and this really is a fast Ford. It begs the question, why didn't Ford make these at around sort of 250 horsepower from standard? I've had, as I said earlier in the video, 2 of the standard 225 brake horsepower cars. They're really, really good, but this just has that edge, and it's not obscene. It really does drive very well. And you'll find that out because you're going to join me on the 125 mile home, which we'll do in a couple of days' time. But for now, having collected the car on collection day, really, really happy. I love it. We've had a really nice couple of days in Bristol, and we've used the car a little bit. We took it out to Cribbs Causeway, to the View Cinema, to watch a new Bond movie, No Time to Die. Really good opening weekend. We loved that. And again, just around town, the car's averaging 23.5 miles per gallon around town. So going to be interesting to see what it does on this drive home to Cornwall. Now, we've learned a little bit about the car over the past couple of days too. We've learned that it's got a little crack on the wing mirror casing over there, so we need to sort that out. And also, it's a bit pink down this side, as many kind of red Fords have gone over the years. The rest of the car's looking pretty good, but this side, there's a bit of pink. So we'll get the mop out and see if we can clear that up. Now, mechanically, the good news is I did manage to find out how to open the bonnet. And well, here's a video of me doing it. Take a look. And you'll see there at the front, we're missing the standard air filter that's been modified. On the subject of modifications, also had a decent look through the receipts that came with the car, because this car actually had quite a good bit of history, loads of MOTs backing up the mileage, but of course being a 2007 you can do that online. However, we've got all the MOT certificates, which is nice bit of history, but also about £3,500 worth of receipts for modifications that have happened to the car. So we know the car has an RS clutch, an RS flywheel. We know the intercooler's been changed, and we know it's got a Piper performance exhaust. And that's to name just a few of the upgrades. It's also been remapped. Now, we don't know what the brake horsepower output on this car is at the moment. Be good to probably find that out. So maybe we will in the future. I've never put a car on a rolling road and find that out. So maybe we'll do that together in a future video. However, the car driven brilliantly. No complaints at all at the moment, but this is the true test. 125 miles home. And as I say, 23.5 miles per gallon at the moment, expecting that to go up as we take this drive, but for it not to be as good as some of the standard ST225s that we've owned in the past. Those cars on a run, you're getting over 35 miles per gallon, and thanks to those people that reported back in the comments below to say that that's pretty similar and consistent with what they're seeing from their cars too. Anyway, this is it. We're about to join the M5, heading south from Bristol towards home in Cornwall. It's a Sunday afternoon, and one thing we have learnt, this car's got no traction control. and that makes it very exciting. But here we go. Look at that. Really picks up quickly. Whoa! God, I love this thing. So much more usable than the RS that we own, which I also love. But that thing's aggressive. That thing, it feels like it's going to kill you every time you put your foot down and use the power a bit. Whereas this is it feels very controlled and very safe, but it is quick. Anyway, put some miles under our belt and report back. I'll see you in about 50 or 60 miles time. So we're passing through Exeter and the car's driven really well. We've done about 80 miles, I suppose, so far. Driving nicely. That's through the rain and the nice sunny patches that we see now. Do have a couple of updates for you though. For those of you that are watching this, when this video goes out, you'll know that we've got a bit of a fuel crisis in the UK right now. Well, I say fuel crisis, I don't actually mean that. I mean a shortage of lorry drivers, allegedly. And what that's resulting in is slower supplies of fuel getting out to the fuel stations. So that's encouraged a load of people to go out and panic buy fuel. If you're doing that, you know who you are, stop it. Anyway, we were fortunate that whilst in Bristol, we found a petrol station with fuel and fueled this car right up. But it did have half a tank of fuel when we bought it from the auction. So I would have expected it really to have driven back with no problems. However, this car is quite heavily modified, as we've already discussed. And when I left Bristol, it was averaging around 23.5 miles per gallon. That's around town. Driven it, as I say, knocking on 80 miles now, and been doing 70 miles an hour all the way in 6-speed. We do need a replacement gear knob, actually. That one's a bit scratched, but we'll pick that up later on. So in 6-speed at 70 miles an hour, and I can report now that the car is doing 23.7 miles per gallon. So that's gone up by only 0.2 despite all this motorway driving. And I did reset the computers when I bought the car. So if you've seen the ST3 video that I drive to work, where I share the miles per gallon of the standard car at around sort of 36, as I think I mentioned earlier, well, this one is tracking well below that. In fact, we've just tipped over to 23.8. I think what I'll do when I get back is I'll refuel the car and I'll get my calculator out and just make sure this computer's reading right. But if that is indeed the case, we won't be using this one to drive to work regularly. Now, a couple of other things about the car. We're about to come up to Holden Hill in a moment, so it'll be great to give it a bit of a performance test going up the hill. But I don't think we've got any concerns to that end. For those of you who don't know where Holden Hill is, it's just as you leave Exeter heading towards the southwest. It's a really good place to kind of test the performance of your car. Go in at 70 at the bottom and see if you're doing 70 at the top. Now with this car, that's not going to be a problem, because I've got to say the 6-speed pickup of this car is immense. In fact, when we get to Holden Hill, I think I'll slow down a little bit and we'll have a decent run in 6th speed. A couple of other things I think we need to do to this car. This, of course, is the stereo that came with the ST3, not with the ST1. So I'll try and source an original stereo and an original fascia, because I think the fascia was slightly different for the Sony stereo that came with the ST1 and the ST2. So we'll source one of those, but I'm in no rush to change that over. Don't need to do that immediately, because it works fine and it's quite a nice upgrade. But I will have the original stereo ready to go back in the car at some point in the future. The thing that we really need to do on this car, of course, is that front bumper with those stone chips and those aftermarket grills. They do need to be changed. And I put a picture of this car up on the ST Owners Forum on Facebook, and I've had loads of really positive comments, so thanks guys for that. And also someone's come forward to say that they actually have an original bottom grille, and I might have a lead on an original top grille as well. So we might be able to do that front end restoration sooner than I thought, which will be really, really good. As I've said, we need to polish the side of the car because it's a bit pink. And also, at the back there, we've got an aftermarket splitter, which again needs to come off and the original go back on, or at least the aftermarket splitter be painted in the original red. So quickly the rain showers are coming on today. Look, We're still passing Exeter at the moment, and the rain's really coming down now as we approach Holden Hill. One other thing to mention about this car is it's quite a special car. I'd love to know the history of this car, the original owner of this car, and how they spec'd it. After all, it is a Ford Focus ST1, so no traction control on this car, the basic stereo unit that came with these, no reverse parking sensors, no leather. Yet this car does come with the electric sunroof, which will have been an option, and that lovely Recaro rear bench seat. So it would be great to know whether this was a demonstrator back in 2007 when new, or if it was just spec'd by a real enthusiast who actually wanted a hot hatch without that traction control option, which is a big reason why I kind of went after this car. Anyway, it's raining heavily. We're coming up to the bottom of Holden Hill. So let's see how the car performs as we climb Holden Hill. So here we go. Now usually on the Holden Hill test I go in the bottom at 70 miles an hour, as I said, and just see if the car is maintaining 70 at the top. But in this car, as I've said, we know it's going to be okay, so I'm going to try a bit of a 6-speed pickup, so make sure it's safe to do so. Doing 50 miles an hour at the moment, and here we go. Good grief, that's 60, that's 70. The pickup in 6-speed really is immense. I mean, it's good in the standard ST225, but in this modified car, it's just so powerful. You get that second wave of boost as you pass between 3,000 and 4,000 revs, and the car is great. I mean, you can tell it's been modified. The car pretty much all the way down has been in constant boost, whereas in the standard car you'll see the turbo gauge drop to 0, but in this one you can hear that turbo whistling pretty much all of the time when you're driving on the motorway, which is what's giving us the 23.8 miles per gallon, if that's indeed accurate. But this car is effortless to drive, that goes without saying, but really going up Holden Hill there, where most cars would probably perform around 70 miles an hour and maintain that speed, maybe some would drop back. This car, if speed limits in the UK were similar to those of Germany, well, this car would have been doing, I imagine, well over 100 miles an hour climbing that hill. It really is a very exciting car to drive. I love it, and with every mile that I drive in this car, it just evidences further this has to be the next permanent, or at least long-term member of the Penntorr Cars Collection. It's brilliant. Right, 50 more miles to go until we get home, and I'm going to enjoy all 50. See you in a minute. So traffic in the final leg of our journey. We've done about 135 miles so far, and here we're queuing to get across the Tamar suspension bridge that links Plymouth in Devon with Saltash in Cornwall. Now, they've been resurfacing this bridge now for several months. It's still going and it's causing traffic mayhem, but it hasn't been too bad. So 135 miles into the journey, and the car's clocked 23.9 miles to the gallon. So that's gone up slightly from Exeter, and I'm hopeful that by the time we get home we'll cross 24 miles per gallon. Now, this is the second bridge that we've crossed in this video. Of course, the first one was the Clifton suspension bridge, which was made by Brunel, and also, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but over to the left there is the Prince Albert Bridge that crosses the Tamar River, again a Brunel bridge. But we're out on the wing here, the additional lanes that were added many years ago to the Tamar Bridge to manage the traffic flow. So, driving across, my final thoughts on this car for this video. Don't worry, we will revisit this car. Well, I like the leather seats, I like them very much, but I've made absolutely the right choice with these cloth Recaro seats. They are so comfortable, they hold you in place so well, and they really are pretty with these red inserts. They do also, I think I said in my last video about the ST, that the leather seats sit you a bit higher. They certainly do. Having jumped back into this car, the ST1 with the cloth seats, you're definitely sat a little bit lower, which makes for a slightly better driving position. Again, for those of you who've got these cars, by all means let me know if you agree or disagree with that. It's great to hear opposing opinions about these cars, but it's been a really enjoyable drive. We've drunk quite a bit of fuel. I will do that calculation when we get home. I'll post that at the very end of the video, so do stay tuned to the end to see that. But yeah, it's drunk a bit of fuel, but what do we expect? It's a modified Focus ST. It's not going to be used for long journeys, and it's been great fun. So now we're going to head through the Saltash tunnel. It's not a tunnel that you can go very fast in. It's 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, but we might get a bit of exhaust noise. I'll try it and see if it comes out on the camera. This car does pop and bang really nicely. I need to learn how to kind of come off the power and make those exhaust pops really happen. So I'll make sure that I learn that ahead of the next time we feature this car. So window down, about 20 miles an hour. Let's see what it does. Here we go. This car really is absolutely brilliant. Oh, what fun. I'm going to drive this one right through the winter and really enjoy it and get some miles out of it. As I say, we're going to do that front bumper. Watch out for a video very soon about that. Tidy up that rear bumper, but just start to bring this car aesthetically back to standard as much as we can, whilst making sure we probably do a cam belt on that engine, a nice oil change on it, just to give it a bit of preventative maintenance as well. So we're climbing back up here. We've come into Cornwall. It's been a brilliant drive back. I hope you've enjoyed watching me buy, collect, my first experience of this car and bring it home. Thank you so much for watching. Please do stay tuned to the channel. We'll feature this and all of our other cars as much as we possibly can as we continue to grow the channel, and you're really helping with that. As I said earlier, don't forget to click like, leave us a comment if you like what you've seen, or if you'd like me to feature anything more, if you've got a question about the car, and do subscribe if you haven't already. But thank you again so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon here at Penntorr Cars Cornish Car Collectors. Bye for now. Bye bye.